Welcome to Building the Future. I'm your host, Kevin Horick. You can check out new episodes of the show every Tuesday and Thursday at 2 p.m. If you missed an episode or want to get more information about the show, please visit buildingthefutureshow.com. I'm excited to be attending and recording shows at Rainmaker 2016. You can join keynote speaker Gary Vanderchuk along with modern revenue leaders at the only conference dedicated to the sales development industry, March 7th to 9th in Atlanta. Get tickets now to receive cutting-edge sales content from thought leaders, learn best practices during breakout sessions, and come network with the world's top sales influencers. If you use the promo code BTFS and the number 30, you'll get 30% off. More information is on the show website at buildingthefutureshow.com. I'm also going to be at the Business Rocks Tech, Music, and Investment Summit recording shows live in Manchester, England, April 21st and 22nd, where Steve Wozniak is headlining. More information about the summit is on the show website at buildingthefutureshow.com. Welcome back to the show. Today we have Maheen Zaidi, co-founder and CEO at Smart Fission. Maheen, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kevin. It's a pleasure to be at your show. I'm looking forward to the great conversation we're going to have.
Yeah, I'm excited to kind of have you on the show, and I think what you guys are doing is pretty cool and pretty interesting. But maybe before we kind of get into exactly what you guys are doing, let's kind of get to know you a little bit better and kind of cover where you grew up.
Sure, absolutely. So, Kevin, I've been an Army kid growing up, so I've been all over the map, changing to a different city and country after every 2 years, forming new friendships, and, of course, changing a gazillion of schools. So I would like to call myself as a citizen of the world at this point in time.
Okay.
Then I transitioned over to the United States in 2000, where I started my career.
Okay, so kind of what made you move to America?
Well, it was partially the opportunity presented itself.
Okay.
And it was one of my first employer, which was a software technology company. They're headquartered out of California here.
Okay.
That was my first gig. And actually, the project, what they were doing, the products, it was something which really excited me at that time. So I rode the wave with them for 4 or 5 years. Okay.
So what did you kind of take in university then?
So I basically did my bachelor's in computer science from Cardiff University. It's one of the top leading universities out of Wales in Britain. And then I was also one of the exchange students who got to spend 9 to 10 months in Singapore as well. So that was an exciting time in my life, yes.
No, that's awesome. So kind of as a kid or kind of growing up, what kind of got you into kind of technology and whatnot?
I would contribute my academic degree, computer science, as something that gave me the tool and the instrument to start looking at problem solving algorithmically and also with a precise, analytical understanding of what the problems are. And I always had a keen eye to figure out what is the problem and how it can be solved more elegantly, and can we improve the solution which is right now out there. And, nowadays you have this thing, you have an app for every problem out there, which basically goes back in the history with the same type of concept that if there is a real world problem and issue, technology can solve it. So that was my triggering point. Basically, it was personal and a keen eye to understand what issues are out there and using my academic background to solve them programmatically as well.
Interesting. So you moved to America. You kind of were working for a few companies. Maybe you don't have to necessarily mention the companies that you work for, but do you want to maybe kind of talk about the different industries and kind of experiences you had kind of working before you started the company?
Oh, absolutely. Sure. So the first company, my first employer, its name is Elixir Technologies. They are in a very unique industry doing content management and print streams for industrial printers, and coming up with tools that can allow you to create variable documents for printing at a mass scale. So that allowed me to kind of understand what are the pain points in the print industry.
Okay.
And then I was managing few of the flagship products. So it gave me a good overview of both the business understanding and also from the product management side, what issues needs to be resolved and how elegantly we can do them. So that was my 5-year gig with them. Then I moved on to work for Gateway Computers, which is right, and now it's Acer, and Gateway is one of the brands they are managing. At that point in time, I made a slight bit of a career move to depart myself a little bit from software engineering paradigms and coding, writing software specifications, more onto product marketing and business development side. So, so a lot of my friends would say, you've moved on to the dark side. And I said, yes, it's the dark side that generates the revenue, believe it or not. So that was an interesting move for me. At Gateway, I was managing their desktop line of business for North America.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
It was big, exciting stuff, and creating those materials for the new launches. And then also work with the international business development team to launch some of our products in Spain and in China.
Oh, wow. So, yeah, you use your kind of global traveling background for kind of your business life as well, it sounds like.
And more importantly, it gives you the business acumen, and you get to work, you get your, roll up your sleeves, you get your hands dirty into how businesses are actually run. Both from product launch standpoint of view and also from the business operation point of view. And then add to the fuel, I transitioned over to Ingram Micro, which is the top IT distributor worldwide.
Okay.
So that gave me a very good flavor of working with a distribution channel, looking at the business model, the products pricing, and I was managing both Walmart and Amazon as corporate accounts for Ingram Micro's private label.
Oh, very cool. So how did you kind of decide to kind of leave the corporate world and, co-found a company? The brainwave hit me in 2014 just because I've been working so closely with retailers at Ingram Micro. Right.
And also with my own observation of what consumers' pain points are when they go searching for a product or a point of interest. So just because I had attained enough knowledge and know-how on the business side, and also doing, deep research, observations, market studies, focus groups on the end customer, the idea actually began in 2014. We actually started the company in 2015 after doing careful analysis of if this is, number one, if this is a real-world problem that we're trying to solve, and then secondly, trying to retrofit our solution into something that will really solve it.
Interesting.
Usually, problem with a lot of companies is that they will come up with a fantastic idea, but is there a real need for it in the market? So our approach was completely, 100 degrees opposite. We started off with first researching the industry, researching what are the gaps that we need to fill and the pain points, and then we created a solution.
Interesting.
And in the process, we were doing some very exhaustive comparative analysis, tearing down the other solutions in the market, and looking at what's missing out there and how can we improve it for the consumers. So, it's actually the reason for starting the company was we discovered at the end of our research is that there is a huge void in the indoor industry where your traditional signals do not work for indoor navigation, number one, from a business standpoint. On the flip side of the coin, you have consumers there right now, time is the most precious commodity for them.
Sure.
They are unable to find, locate, and navigate their items of interest indoors because there's no solution that works out there.
Sure.
So the combination of these two things were the basically the launching platform for our company.
Okay, interesting. So did you guys kind of self-fund? Did you guys raise some money, or kind of how did you kind of get this thing off the ground?
A very good question. And I think that's the one element that a lot of startup companies struggle with.
Sure.
We are completely founder bootstrapped.
Okay.
So we were doing multiple things at this early stage growth. Our first priority was to keep the cost as down as possible, and without compromising on the solution. But how can we maintain and contain the cost?
Sure.
At this early stage? So we are debt free. It's completely founder bootstrap.
Awesome.
And we have been funded through family and friends. And we just opened up our first seed round, January 1st, and we plan to close it by March.
Oh, awesome. So
yes.
No, that's awesome. That I think that's really cool that, you guys are obviously self-funded and debt-free, because not a lot of startups could say that, right?
And we, we do have some revenues. They're not in seven figures right now, but
Right.
it's doing good.
Oh, that's awesome. So I'm kind of curious to know, how do I, like say I'm a mall or a business or I'm a conference or whatnot, how do I kind of get started with you guys and your technology and adding your kind of technology into what I'm doing?
Yes. So Kevin, let me just backtrack a little bit.
Sure.
And give you a kind of a high-level overview of our company and solution.
Okay, sure.
And that's going to tie in with this whole story and business applications that we can talk about later.
Okay.
So at Smart Fission, it's a technology company. Our main export is a mobile platform for businesses
Okay.
who want to deploy navigation services, indoor navigation services, and location-aware ads. Plus, tie in with their ERP systems to offer the best products, the best deals, which are going to be encountered en route of the navigation for the mobile shopper. So that's the core. I would say our technical top is that we've been able to figure out and hone into the micro positioning of the user indoors with a combination of certain factors and platforms.
Okay.
Given that there are two ways of deployment. So you as an end user, for example, when you walk into a shopping mall or into a retail store or into a convention or event, there's an app for you, which is a free app that
Okay.
you can download, and we have several ways of integrating our solution with the retailer's existing mobile app. So
Okay.
we do have, so for them, we are trying to make it as seamless and as painless as possible for retailers without disrupting their current mobile strategies. And for you as an end user, you simply just take out your smartphone, you open up the app, and then the app will be location enabled
Interesting.
through our services.
Okay.
So you are able to search dynamically for any product or create a list of products. And what we will do is that we will give you the shortest route map with the turn-by-turn directions as you're navigating in the store.
Very cool. So are you guys kind of using geofencing and iBeacon technology or something along those lines? Or using something totally
Yeah.
different, proprietary?
So, the way we look at the indoor navigation experience is a holistic science, which
Okay.
means that as the end customer, your customer experience starts when you're actually driving around on a freeway or you're in a parking lot within a retail store.
Sure.
So we actually start engaging with you at that high level using the geofencing and GPS.
Okay, so
because you're still outdoors, so
sure.
you're not indoors, but we are trying to reel you in the direction, save you time, and just match you with exact products that you're looking for. So the first step is, yes, the experience starts with geofencing.
Okay.
Once you get inside the store, GPS does not work.
Sure. Can you maybe just for the listener tell them what geofencing is, just so the people that don't know what that is?
Geofencing is basically using your GPS coordinates and creating a parameter around where you want to be notified. So if you are within 5 miles of a Walmart store, for example, or a Target store, there will be a push alert notice on your phone that will say, "Hey, we found 5 matching items on your wish list,
Right.
and out of these 5 items, these are available in the closest store, which is 5 miles or 3 miles." So you're actually setting up a parameter with the GPS coordinates or where the person is outdoors.
Sure. No, and I suppose then you could even send them promotions saying like, "Hey, you're close to a Walmart, you need milk, it's on sale today," or something, that kind of stuff as well.
Exactly. So that's the starting point of the customer experience.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, and GPS works. The GPS technology suffices for those type of interactions.
Mm-hmm.
But then the story changes once you walk inside
Sure.
a store with walls and multiple stories and a ceiling.
Sure. So do you want to maybe kind of cover some of the challenges that you guys are solving with your platform and even high level what the challenges are with kind of indoor navigation?
Absolutely. From a technical standpoint, the biggest challenge, not just for us but for people who are in the space, is how do you micro-position a person indoors
Sure.
with the highest level of accuracy. So our comparative strength is that we have been able to position you very, very accurately with less than 3 feet of variance.
Oh, wow.
Which becomes very critical when you are aiming that you can do indoor navigation, because with 3 feet distance, your entire route might change. Your
Sure.
aisle and shelf that you're standing in front of might change. There are companies which are doing a variance of about 2 to 5 meters, but with 2 to
Sure.
5 meters, your indoor positioning for navigation will fall short.
Sure. Well, you in theory, like if you're in a mall, you could be at a different store with if it's 5 meters out, right?
Right, exactly.
Interesting.
It's a great, with that level of micro positioning, it's probably great for proximity marketing solutions, which push out a static or generic ad on your phone. It's not really a personalized experience for the customer. The other thing is the problem of indoor congestion, interference, and reflections from devices.
Okay.
Which, as you know, 8 out of 10 consumers are using their smart devices indoors for either product reviews, product availability, pricing. So imagine a shopping mall full of 5,000 mobile shoppers at any point in time. All of them have their smartphones.
Sure.
Some cafeterias like Starbucks, they're having Wi-Fi, their own Wi-Fi. People bringing their laptops. All of these things interfere with the indoor navigation.
Interesting.
Um,
Okay.
So the challenge for us is that how can we solve this both from a hardware perspective and also algorithmically to cancel out the noise.
No, totally.
And just in the same vein, we were successfully able to cancel out noise at an event which is as big as a CES, where we were
Wow.
showing live demo of our navigation for the Hall G, which is the Eureka Park for startups. So, and you can imagine the amount of congestion at the
Oh,
CES.
yes.
Maybe about 10 times the congestion in retail stores or shopping malls.
No, that's actually really incredible because I'm sure anybody that's ever been to a conference understands sometimes like the Wi-Fi's terrible or that kind of thing. So when you have that many people in that close of quarters, and the fact that you guys have a solution for that is actually like a really big deal. That being said, though, I kind of have a question about that. Is it possible that you can tell me, like, say I'm halfway down the mall or something, or in an indoor space, and I really want like Starbucks and it's on the other side of the mall? Based on your technology, could you tell me roughly how busy that Starbucks is or isn't?
Yes. And that's a very good, interesting point you made. This also ties in with the research that we are currently doing,
Okay.
where same concept instead. Like let's take an example of Universal Studios.
Okay, sure. Yeah.
So you are a moving target. You're all over the place, but at any certain point in time and location, you want to know how big is the line
Sure.
for a certain theme ride.
Yeah.
And and just because we have the location services in our app, we are able to figure out if you want to go to a Jurassic Park ride. This is the wait time in that line.
Interesting.
So you don't have to be near that area, but just because of the virtue of people using our app or the Universal Studio app, we are able to gauge the dwell time and the traffic at each ride.
That's awesome. So I'm like, so eventually you could basically, like, the night before I'm going to Universal Studios, I could say, I for sure want to hit like the Jurassic Park ride and these other few rides. And you could basically pop me up notifications saying, hey, the line's shorter than, I don't know, 20 minutes or something. You could probably do something
Absolutely.
like that then. And then I could rush over
Yes,
there
but
or whatever. That's awesome. I love it.
you have to be physically present in that venue for
Sure.
us to do that.
Sure.
Because this is dynamic information is changing with every second.
Right.
But this is also ties in with the fact the other reason that we are different from other companies is because of exactly these business logic and creating an intelligence layer for the vertical specific for a customer. So the requirements and the ask from retailers very, very different from the requirements of location-enabled services for theme parks, for museums, so on and so forth. And this is, I'm very proud to say that, we have kind of cracked down how we can share our program logically across these different business cases and business logic, yet providing them with exactly what they need.
Sure.
So, it's not a one solution fits all.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That makes a lot of sense. Based on their needs, you kind of have to tailor the solution a little bit. But I am kind of curious then, how does your technology, I guess, what's your solution to kind of the battery drain problem, or is it not really an issue anymore? I just know when iBeacon kind of technology kind of came out and this whole location-based thing, it was sucking some people's battery. Have you guys do you have a solution for that, or is it a non-issue now?
It's a big issue.
Okay.
The battery drain on the end user cell phone is one part of the equation.
Okay.
The other equation is also the battery which is in your beacons. How long do they last?
Right.
Right. So because our program platform is based on the latest specifications from the Bluetooth, which is the low energy 4.2.
Yeah.
We are able to do a ground up solution which will not drain your battery life, and it will only request to turn on the Bluetooth on your cell phone once you are near your point of interest.
Right.
So you don't need to have the Bluetooth enabled all the time. It will only get triggered once you are entering a certain parameter.
Interesting.
On the other side, Smart Fission, we do not manufacture our own beacons. We are very beacon agnostic.
Okay.
In that sense. And we do have technology partners who provide us with the hardware arm. And we were very, very careful in selecting the top ones where the battery in the beacons have the longest battery life.
Sure. No, that makes sense. And obviously, it's hard to have one provider because sometimes you need beacons that are just indoors. Sometimes you need ones that work outdoors. Sometimes you probably need a combination of both, correct?
Absolutely. It's interesting. We had some very unique requests when we were at the CES show displaying our indoor navigation. Where there were research companies who were trying to measure the health of their underground piping system.
Okay, interesting.
So their requirements were very unique and they were very different. And they were looking at a rugged solution.
Yeah,
for
for
doing
sure.
navigation underground, 20 feet underground.
Sure. And I suppose like we're kind of talking about almost like the consumer side of things, but yeah, like you mentioned, I think there's so many good business cases, and I can't think of anything better than kind of underground navigation, right? Because people like
Absolutely.
there's
I mean,
tunnels and yeah, interesting.
even we did not kind of forecasted that such a request will come our way.
Sure.
But yes, there is a huge industrial need for this solution. Factories, warehouses, they wanted us to deploy the solution for indoor positioning of the employees and which machines they're standing in front of at any
Sure.
time, so they can be reconfigured. Very
Interesting.
interesting business case.
Yeah. So when you say reconfigured, so basically like you could change things on the machine based on the type of use that I would potentially need in front of that I guess piece of machinery. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Well, to be more precise, your store manager or the factory manager would like to know if he has deployed 20 forklifters.
Oh, okay.
Where are they revolving inside the warehouse at any time? If there's employee who has spent more than 30 minutes in front of one machine, because we can gauge that information, how much time you're spending in front of every machine. That's the information that he would need, the store manager, so that he can send a message saying, hey, you're needed at that other machinery. If you can go, and this is your navigation route.
Okay, interesting. And then you could basically send them the quickest way possible through whatever, especially if it's on another floor or something. Interesting.
Yeah. And then the other main concern is safety and security. You have on a 5 million square feet of warehouse, you have forklifters. Employees should be able to know that on a blind spot, there's a certain forklifter coming his or her way.
Sure. No, that's actually really interesting. So can you do like I know you can position me like where I am within 3 feet. Is the technology there yet to do kind of height and like say if I'm on like a forklift or something, can you see how far I'm off the ground, or is the technology just not there yet?
No, so when we position you indoors,
Okay.
we are working on 3 different coordinates, X, Y, Z.
Oh, interesting.
So the XY positions you on a 2D, and the Z coordinate will position you exactly which floor or if there are multiple floors in a shopping mall. We are able to position you if you're on floor number 1, 2, 3. So it works in a 3D kind of dimension.
That's awesome. I didn't realize the technology was that far. That's actually really cool. So I'm kind of where do you think kind of the future of the whole indoor navigation kind of thing's going to go? Because it kind of seems we're at the very kind of beginning, and you guys are at kind of, the very beginning of what's possible with indoor navigation.
Kevin, the first challenge that we have to overcome as a solution provider for indoor navigation is education.
Sure.
So there have been solutions with different level of sophistications around in the market since 2008, believe it or not.
Okay.
Who've been trying to figure out how to do this and commercialize it. So it's just
Right.
education, and this is the first step. That is my top priority, is to educate businesses on the benefits for commercializing the indoor navigation for their enterprise.
So
Once they get a hang of it, and once they know the ROI, and with our solution, it's an end-to-end solution, so they're actually going to one vendor, which is us, for providing them hardware, software, and professional services.
interesting.
And I think that's been one of the biggest mistakes in the market, is that there are companies which would only focus on delivering just an SDK to connect to the beacons and communicate with them, not realizing that an average retailer or a or a shopping mall or a museum, they don't have the IT expertise,
Sure.
who have the programming sense to create a platform of their own for indoor navigation. So the reason it has not been commercialized so far at a massive scale is because of education, lack of elegant solution in the market, which is
Sure.
easy and very, very seamless to deploy. And then if these two things can be communicated effectively to the stakeholders in the business, they see the value on why this should be the next step in the mobile strategy.
Sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I think you're right that anything that's kind of new, people just never really heard of it. And so you need to kind of educate them about what's possible, kind of where it's going, you know, and that. And I'm sure you get a little bit of pushback sometimes, but I think majority of companies and businesses, you know, within the next few years will have this stuff. And it's just going to be so commonplace that, you know, everybody's just going to have it automatically on their phone, and you're going to miss it when you don't have it. Because, you know, I've been even at conferences, and you go to those big conferences sometimes and you don't even know where the exit is, right? Or if you think like you go to like a casino in Vegas, like try to find the elevator, right, to get to your room. Like sometimes you're like, I don't even know where I am. So it has a lot of uses that I think you're going to start seeing it just in common places that are just, you know, everyday places that people are at for vacation or conference or the mall or whatnot, right? Maybe even finding your car in a big parkade or parking lot, right?
Absolutely. And, you know, a very interesting use case study that we are working on is potentially having a solution for electric charging stations, which are in multiple level parking lots.
Sure.
Because, you know, the GPS, your car GPS will stop working, and if you have multiple charging stations deployed in an indoor venue, how do you route your customers to those?
Interesting.
So, the possibilities are endless. The use cases and the business cases are endless. We just have to make sure that we provide them with a solution with the intelligent layer that can talk to their business requirements. And that's why we are so particular in, you know, handpicking our customers, who we want to work with, what are their requirements, and actually be able to deliver an end-to-end solution to them.
Sure. So it sounds like you kind of have quite the variety of different clients. Do you maybe want to kind of cover a couple other interesting use cases that, you know, maybe the listener kind of wouldn't think about or maybe would be relevant to their business? Like kind of similar to like the whole like underground navigation, I thought was kind of fascinating.
Absolutely. Another very interesting and growing market is are the manufacturers of digital signage and digital displays in shopping malls.
Okay.
There are some huge, industry names which are backing this market up, including GE, Philips, Samsung, because they're deploying their hardware, which is display signage across, globally in shopping malls. The digital display works great because it gives you a static, high-level overview of the store map, but unfortunately, it's a signage that you cannot pick up with you and start walking around.
Right.
And so one of the very interesting thing was, hey, why don't we collaborate and why don't we figure out a way that we can detect a person who's standing in front of on the display signage in a shopping mall. He interacts with the signage, marks the point of interest or the shops he wants to go, and then he would get a complete turn-by-turn navigation guide on his cell phone automatically based on that engagement. Right?
So you just send that through Bluetooth or something then?
Yeah, so we will work with deploying a small Bluetooth beacon hardware on each one of the displays.
Okay.
And then deploying them across the shopping mall. And based on your dynamic interaction with the digital display, we should be able to create a route for you and send it on your smart device.
That's very cool, actually. And I'm assuming this is like Android, iOS, potentially probably Windows Phone and BlackBerry at some point, if it's not already there.
Right now, our focus is iOS and Android.
Sure, makes sense. Those are the two major players. The other two are not really that relevant, I suppose, is the nice way to put it.
I think BlackBerry is a great business device, but
sure.
Our end consumer is an average shopper like myself.
Sure, it's more the general
most
public,
probably
right?
will be using. Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
No, that makes a lot of
So
sense.
those, and we are also working on some good projects, which is going to enable us to send audio files with the navigation for places like a museum,
Oh,
where
interesting.
you don't have to buy those clunky headsets
Yeah,
to.
that you're the millionth person that's wore that set.
I mean, those things are expensive, right? I mean,
Sure.
you pay $15, and internationally, when I've been traveling, we were paying 25 euros or something for getting a handset with predetermined audio broadcasting. I think because we can tweak the content within the audio bytes to the liking of the user, it
Interesting.
becomes more personalized.
That's
Yeah.
actually really cool, actually. And then I would assume that you also have a bunch of accessibility kind of uses for your technology as well, then. So somebody that's blind or visually impaired, you could basically navigate them to the stores they need to go or wherever they need to go based on audio.
Based on audio, both based on the audio bytes,
Interesting.
opens up a whole new vertical for us.
Totally.
Um, and then one of our top verticals for 2016 is going to be events and conventions.
Sure.
So, we're working with some, potential prospects
Okay.
for deploying indoor navigation for their events. The funny thing about events is that it's a kind of a tear-down event. So the flow map, the fingerprinting, and the booth layouts, everything changes from maybe one event to another event, or
Right.
even between days within their event. So that presents a big enough challenge for us to figure out how can we do it with scale
Sure.
for both domestic and international events.
Sure. No, that makes a lot of sense. And then I would assume that you could get people, to their session rooms and whatnot too. Because like sometimes it's like these weird numbers like 318B. You're like, well, where is that relevant to where I am currently?
Yes, and another thing I noticed at working at we were exhibitors and we had our own booth at CES.
Right.
The one thing I noticed in their layout was they either had the booth name glued to the floor,
Sure.
right? Or
Yep.
they would have a very high level range, like 8,000 to 8,500 booths, way higher up. So, see, I mean, with those two pieces of information, there is no way I can get a sensibility of where I am and where I
Sure.
want to navigate, because the booths themselves are at least 10 feet in height, and they're blocking your view of sight.
Right, right. Even
So
just like
one of the
finding the
things I was
bathroom or food, right? You have no
yeah,
idea.
absolutely. And that was one of the things, is that, we had a free app download, and I was actually reeling in people and asking them, which booth do you want to go to? And I showed
Interesting.
them our app. They used to enter the booth number, and they got turn-by-turn directions from where they're standing at that point in time.
That's awesome. So that's really cool. So maybe let's kind of segue into your kind of SDK and kind of how people can integrate your technology into their existing app.
Sure. So our SDK has a different packages. It
Okay.
depends on how sophisticated your IT team is. If you're a business, do you have programming resources which you feel comfortable that they'll be able to work with an SDK? Then we do have our entry-level SDK, which provides you with the basic information on indoor positioning.
Okay.
You can take that SDK and incorporate that into your existing mobile app if you have one. If you do not have the required infrastructure to work with SDK, we have the next level, which provides you with all the visual components along with the SDK. So we'll have a component for you to digitize your map. We'll have a component for you to fingerprint your facility, and we will help you to pinpoint exactly which locations you need to install the beacons.
Sure. No.
So there are different variations, but during this whole route, we make sure that we have one package for the level of resources and that you have currently. And then, of course, if you do not have a mobile app to begin with, a lot of event companies do not have a mobile app. We create the entire location-based services ground up with the complete handover of the mobile application to you.
Okay, so you're kind of an end-to-end solution then, basically hardware and software.
It's hardware, software, not just that. We also provide professional services. So we do have the infrastructure to dispense resources who will come to your on your venue, do a site planning and survey, install the beacons, and provide technical support and maintenance on the beacons too.
Okay, very cool. So if I'm kind of, if I'm an event or something, how long, or business, or I want to kind of implement your technology, kind of what's the kind of minimum amount of time I need before I can basically go from contacting you to having a solution? Is it weeks? Is it a couple of months? I get based on, depending on what I need, it's going to take a different amount of time, but what's usually kind of an average time that I could basically go from contacting you to having a solution?
A month. A month will suffice.
Okay.
But if you are looking into a very kind of a challenging undertaking, such as creating the entire mobile app for you, then
Sure.
that we need to see how much complexity and what feature sets that you're looking for in the mobile app.
Sure, but a month isn't that long.
Yeah, a month, and actually you'll be surprised that we were able to deploy our indoor navigation solution for the Eureka Park 2 days earlier to the show.
Really? Oh, wow. That's fascinating, actually. That's really quick.
Yeah, that included doing fingerprinting, calibrating the beacons, making some finer adjustments to the digitized map, and also testing, making sure everything is on schedule and it's working.
Sure, and then you'd have to obviously, there's some installation too, if you guys have to go put hardware in, a venue or mall or whatnot, right? That stuff just takes time.
That just takes time, with events is basically you install and then you have to uninstall them as well.
Sure, no, that makes sense.
So we do provide them, our customers, the option that they can source the beacons from us, and we work internally with our partners, or if they have a preferred choice of beacon provider, they can source their installation services. So we are highly flexible that way.
Sure. That's awesome. But Maheen, we're kind of running out of time, so maybe let's close the show with kind of promoting where people can find the company and, you guys on social media, and then if you want to promote anything kind of personally, where people can find you online.
Absolutely. Kevin, thank you so much for having me at the show. The best way to get more information on Smart Fission is obviously if we have a website. It's smartfission.com. You can reach me through an email, and that is my first name, Maheen, Maheen, at smartfission.com. And I'll, make it a priority to answer any questions that you have. And both the company, Smart Fission, and myself are on LinkedIn and on social media. So our Twitter handle is at Smart Fission. And if there's a pressing question, please feel free to just send me an email. I'll answer that. Sure.
No, that's awesome. And I'll post those in the show notes as well, so people can go to the website, buildingthefutureshow.com, and, click on your episode under past shows, and, they'll be able to get to all those links as well as your email, and, send you a message if they need help or questions and whatnot. But thanks again for being on the show, and I look forward to kind of following your guys' progress over 2016, and who knows where this will end up going, and maybe we'll do another show in the future.
Absolutely, Kevin. It was my pleasure, and hopefully we can make some good strides in 2016.
Yeah, perfect. Well, all right. Well, we'll talk soon, and you have a good day.
Thank you, Kevin.
Okay.
So do you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to the show. The music for the show is done by Electric Mantra. You can check him out at electricmantra.com. Until next time, keep building the future.